Alright, hello everyone! Welcome back after a quick break. I'm playing the Archon quest and then I drank some water. I had this cute little bubble tea cake snack, which was really good. And now I'm ready to get back into it. I also had to make sure my AirPods were charged because I remember last year the recording went so long, the AirPods ran out of battery and then it glitched the audio for the remainder of the recording. So I had to make sure that doesn't happen this time, or at least prevent it from happening. That would be great. Yeah, last time we fought for Furina and we're still trying to figure out who is Furina really and her role in the prophecy. What is the prophecy exactly and what exactly is Furina's role in it? So Fontaine had this big disaster at the primordial seawater, and sadly Malus and Silver didn't make it, and I was so sad because they're actually really cool characters. You get so used to seeing them standing with Navia all the time, and now they're gone. But even in death, they refuse to become part of the collective of the ocean and just have their identities and sense of self washed away, and they still managed to save Navia as she was falling into the primordial seawater herself, just in time for Neuvillette to save her. And then we found these stone slates marking the prophecy with some missing information. So we wonder what that's about. And we ran into Mona, who mentioned that some members of the Hexen Circle might have the power to be able to create those, to make those kinds of prophecies. Visionaries, she described, including her master. So we'll see how things turn out on her end. Nice to see Mona again. We're meeting Neuvillette and Furina today. Hello!
You're here! Finally!
Oh, you seem like you are very much waiting for us.
Wrong?
Is there something wrong?
Monsieur Neuvillette and Lady Furina, they seem to have gotten into a dispute. Please go see for yourself.
I don't think Furina wants to share her secrets just yet. But I mean, she's kind of running out of time, so...
Like I said, I've already explained everything.
And yet the problem has not been properly solved. There is little space for excuses between us. It is not my intention to offend you, but please, tell me where you stand. You are the Hydro Archon Focalor, are you not? Look at this. This is a list of the victims from the recent Poisson incident.
I know, there were so many. Even if many were saved, many were not.
You mean... they're all...
Yeah.
We did not arrive in time to avert this disaster, and I will not have it happen again. I will say this once more. You must tell me everything you know. Yesterday, I found 3 stone slates in some ancient ruins near Poisson. Do you know anything about those?
Yeah, Furina.
Seriously? You're questioning me like this is a court case now. I don't
more like an
know
interrogation.
anything about that. But you found them in some ancient ruins, you say?
That's correct, which is why I came to ask you some questions. There should have been 4 slates, but one of them was missing. The other 3 featured different images that seemed to correlate to the prophecy.
The prophecy?
The second of these slates depicts the previous Hydro Archon Egeria kneeling before a floating island in the sky, as if confessing something. Do you know nothing of this either?
I don't. I've never seen such slates.
I'll ask you again. Do you really have no information regarding the previous Archon? My deciphering of the slates indicates that the Hydro Archon Egeria once had to confess to, or apologize for, a certain sin. If anyone would know about it, it should be you.
All gods don't have the same secrets, you know. She was herself and I'm me. Is it really so strange that I know nothing? I understand your
What about the other 2
but
slates?
I'm sorry. I just don't have anything to tell you.
Forgive me for saying this now, Lady Furina, but I have long known of your various secret investigations into certain matters. There are several indications that you have been investigating the prophecy on the sly. This is not strange in itself, considering that you are the Hydro Archon. But it is strange that you should also claim to not know any of Egeria's secrets, as well as do nothing following your inquiries. You have never been as superficial as you have presented yourself to be, nor are you a fool. And yet, your behavior is very inconsistent.
Like you're hiding something.
So you've been watching me all this time, have you?
More like
I didn't think you were
babysitting,
that
but
tight.
yes.
You...
Well, since you know about my secret investigations, then you should know I'm actually working to take care of it. There's no point questioning or suspecting me. You're the Eudix, but you're still my subordinate. You should be following my lead. Just trust in me, you're Archon, and do as I say. Never mind whether you can truly convince yourself to or not. It'll all turn out fine.
Well, that's not horribly convincing. But okay.
That's all I have to say. We do not discuss this matter again.
I promise you we're going to discuss this matter again.
Oh, the opera's about to start. Toodles!
Toodles. That wasn't that wasn't very productive, was it? Huh? She's glowing.
Did Furina not notice us standing by the door? Wonder what's up with her. She was smiling. She didn't seem in the mood to care if we were listening in or not.
She seemed to be deliberately hiding something. It does bring up the other question, too. Which is how the previous Hydro Archon died. And how Furina became the successor, if you will. Interesting. Hello there,
I
Nivila.
assume you've been outside for a while now?
Yeah.
Oh, you noticed. Seems
Of
Furina
course
didn't
he
even realize
noticed.
we were here.
We're best buddies now.
She was in a great panic, though I cannot discern the reason. Our discussion reached impasses time and again, a state of affairs that we cannot allow to continue. Still, I do not understand. Dialogue is the basis for understanding, so why did she keep refusing to engage?
Don't think she wants you to understand. Rather, with Furina, she creates an atmosphere where as long as it looks like she knows what she's doing, everything's gonna be fine. Or is what she wants people to believe. Which includes a great deal of not understanding. So I think that's her tactic. I'm afraid questionings alone might not suffice. We need to make her understand how dire the situation actually is.
Everyone in her inner circle has noticed that she is hiding some secret. The issue is her attitude. I fear that she will not reveal anything unless absolutely forced to.
That
We
appears
may
to be
have
true.
create a situation in which she will have no choice but to speak.
Okay. What do you suggest?
Like what?
Normally, people will only reveal the truth when standing trial. Perhaps we must have the Hydro Archon experience just
Okay.
such a scenario.
Trial for what?
But Furina's seen so many trials, and she's really good at dodging questions. How do we make sure
Yeah.
that she won't just slip away at the first chance she gets?
We will
Well-
need to consider this thoroughly, join forces with various parties, and then do what we can.
The biggest thing we can hurt is her
If
pride.
at all possible, I would
So-
prefer to recuse myself from this affair, but we must prevent the prophecy
That's
from
gonna
coming
be
to
a
pass.
tactic of getting her to stay.
This may be cruel to her, but all Fontaine is in crisis. The information a god possesses is too precious, and so we must take a chance on this.
Yeah. Who are you really, Furina? In that case, we will need help.
But who will lend us their aid to do such a thing?
Well, I think I know who to call. I mean, who are you talking about, Ether? You know so many people. I have lost track. A few days later, on a boat somewhere in quiet Poisson. Okay.
Well, that's everyone, huh? Speaking of which, it was pretty smart of you to think of hiding here.
Everyone? What do you mean everyone?
Quesol was just involved in a disaster, so it's presently devoid of people. That naturally makes it the best choice.
And here you are drinking tea like it's the most natural thing in the world, huh?
That's what families should do. Sit and enjoy a leisurely time together.
Yeah.
It's nice to enjoy tea here, you know? Care for a cup?
Lend me your ears, everyone. Or perhaps one of you might like to start us off. How about you,
No,
friend?
don't make him talk first.
Me? No, I don't think I can.
Aww.
Then, how about you, good sir?
I fear that I will cause the mood on this boat to become as somber as it is in court.
Well then, I guess we're lucky we've got a local like me to organize things. Wonderful, the spotlight at last. I guess I'll be facilitating things from here.
Does appear to be the case.
That was a little long-winded, don't you think?
Oh, you might be right. Anyway, to cut to the chase,
Hey,
our friend
we're all
here, the Traveler,
here.
has brought us together to discuss something.
This is like Al-Haytham's plan to save
As for
Nahida.
what that is, well,
All gathering
let's start
together
by saying
and
that we'll
around the
be pooling
table,
our
and we're
efforts
all gonna
together
play
to
our
create
parts to
a
get.
series of traps.
Except instead of saving the Archon, we're gonna
Oh,
force the Archon to
how
spill all of her
intriguing.
secrets instead.
Well, it's just an expression, really. One that I just learned from Chlorand. And used on the spot. So, let's invite her to explain in detail. A round of applause, please.
Yay!
Huh? Didn't you say that you would be facilitating this?
Oh, come now. Your work doesn't involve much public speaking, right? This is a good chance to practice. You might even pick up some fancy oratory tricks to impress your boss with in the future.
I see. And what does my boss say?
He is glad that you consider him your boss. Do go on.
Well, we have a nice group of friends in another country again.
In that case, do any of you have experience hunting?
Not that I recall.
Fremine and I once used a wooden stick in a basket to catch wild rabbits when we were younger. As for Lynette, oh, right. You were sick that day, weren't you?
I've also gone diving to catch some fish before. Does that count?
I'd say it counts.
I'm afraid not. You may or may not have heard, but Fontaine once played host to a group known as the Marechaussee Hunters. Though that was their name, they did not hunt animals, but rather various monsters left behind by the ancient dynasty of King Remus.
Okay.
Today, Fontaine's monster population has already thinned greatly, so the hunters have blended back into society, taking up arms in other lines of work. They even left a unique methodology of hunting in their wake. A trap comprises of the following components: bait, a trigger, and a containment device. Sometimes a lethal implement will also be necessary to deal with the prey. So, if we were to build a trap together, right now, what would you choose to build it with?
For me, I would prefer something basket-shaped. Pigeons and rabbits will see the bait and naturally enter the snare. Our line of work requires a deft hand, and we're some of the best in the industry, so you can count on our
You have to make a
techniques.
trap that looks like the natural
You used some of
environment
those
that
techniques while moving the
what you're
people
trying to
at Poisson,
catch would
didn't
go
you?
into.
My subordinates mentioned that you even performed some magic for the bawling children.
Yes, and I even managed to gather some intelligence in the meantime. I'm quite the multitasker if I do say so myself.
I'm afraid I can't claim that as my strong suit. I prefer more stable methods, like placing bait in the water and waiting for the fish to come within reach. That's the kind of method I would count on.
Calm and steady. Exactly the kind of person who would catch loads of fish.
And I can be their assistant.
With discretion, I'm sure.
I'd probably use some sort of mechanical animal. Papa once bought me some small clockwork squirrels, mice, and such. When placed in the forest, they can attract others of their kind. I remember that you liked those too,
Right.
didn't you?
Aw, I remember the butterflies Kaveh and
And that would
Farazan
be a
used
good way to
during
go
the
about it.
Inter-Darshan
If they're realistic
Championship.
enough,
I'm not sure
animals of
those
the same
quite
kind
worked
will
the
follow
exact
them all the
way
way
that
to
they
the
wanted
tribe.
it to for that
What
same
about
purpose.
you, Monsieur Neuvillette?
I fear I do not have any related experience.
That makes sense. You usually solve problems directly, without the use of any such tricks. But I do have one more question for you, monsieur. If we were to create a trap now, how would you design it?
I would like for it to be effective, but bring no harm to the prey.
Me
A
too.
more gentle trap would be
Especially in
ideal.
this case.
Kind, as always. However, our intention doesn't necessarily change the containment device and the type of implement we need. If we wanted to kill the prey in one strike, we would need a powerful implement. However, that also goes for prey that must be captured and safely contained.
Wait, why's that?
Only a hunter who's a true expert at subduing their prey can snare it without harming it. The line that divides life and death is often exceedingly thin.
That's true.
So, are we going hunting together?
No, it's a metaphor, Femine.
We hadn't thought of seeing ourselves as hunters. It kinda works, but maybe it's still not the best metaphor.
It
If
doesn't
our
seem like
means
the
of
most
capturing and dealing
pleasant
with our prey
metaphor.
is to put them on trial, and the hunting metaphor is actually quite accurate. But we shall require much more courage than any hunter to judge a god, a being whose seat is an exalted throne.
That's right.
Oh, so that's what's going on. Sounds very interesting.
Cloran's hunting metaphor was just that, a metaphor. You will not call this a hunt because that is not what you should do at present, nor has the relationship between you and Furina reached such a dire stage. I agree, it's not a perfect metaphor. But it does indicate in the direction of what we're trying to plan. What you need is simply the secrets she's keeping. Attempting to take her secrets is an act of sacrilegious disrespect, but must be done to prevent Fontaine from sinking into the waters as foretold in the prophecy. There is neither hunter nor prey, but there must be a trap. That is what you will need. Very eloquent way of putting it. Oh, tea! I will enjoy the tea here now. Where is this, hydroculus? Uh-oh. Maybe we shouldn't, fall down. We still haven't... We're focusing a lot on Furina, which is what I was planning, but we still have not really focused much on the Oratrice. Ooh, they spent a bunch of Mora. We haven't focused on the Oratrice, what Linny heard. Oh yeah, you can... That's right. Well, hang on, I don't need to do that yet. Hey! Actually, if I play for long enough, like 4 more hours, we might be able to fill up the commissions again anyway. Actually, if that happens, I gotta remember to claim the daily rewards. But yeah, what is the Oratrice? Why did the Oratrice sentence child? And oh no, what will it do to Furina? Considering we don't actually know what it is. We just take for granted that it's never disagreed with Neuvillette up until now.
It's been a tough few days, hasn't it? So much has been happening.
I know, a lot of people died, Paimon. Those meetings sure did make me hungry.
Paimon didn't think the meetings would go on for so long, but everyone seemed pretty fired up, huh?
We are making a plan.
Paimon thought they'd be at least a little frightened. Well, Fremine was, now that Paimon thinks about it, but everyone else just looked a little surprised.
Do you feel more confident after the meetings, Paimon?
Well... It's hard to say. Paimon doesn't have any experience with this sort of thing. But with you around, Paimon sure will do great. After all, you're the most reliable person in the world, aren't you? Huh?
Is something wrong?
Did you just pour some tea? Paimon didn't notice you doing that at all.
Uh-oh. No, I didn't.
Then what's that?
It's red.
Paimon's never seen that cup before.
It's red.
Don't be frightened. I'm just joining you two for tea. I merely refrained from saying anything till now.
Who's that voice? But there's no one here.
Oh my gosh.
Aw, have you forgotten
I
me
of course
already?
I would never forget you.
You are familiar. You're the voice we heard from the sky in Sumeru.
Yeah.
The voice from the sky, I fear that description is wrong. Though, not completely wrong. You're feeling lost now, just as you were feeling previously. I sensed that confusion and thus came to you. Guiding people is an irresistible hobby of mine, after all.
Yeah. About that. You remember that there was you remember what happened before the events that got erased from Irminsul got erased both times. Who are you? Yeah, who are you? What do you want with us?
Consider me a passerby, just accepting a commission from my friend's disciple on a whim.
Oh, Mona did get us some help. So this is one of the friends of Mona's master, the enigmatic N of the Hexen Circle. Well then, allow me to ask you, will Fontaine's prophecy come true?
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesized will be fulfilled. You may view such things as the history of the future.
What? Then is there any way we can stop it?
I believe you have witnessed a failed attempt with your own eyes. Can everything in Tevat so easily be changed?
She's kind of right. Well, I wouldn't say it. I would not call what happened with Wanderer a failed attempt. Because it proved two things. First of all, it gave him his clean slate in terms of the rest of the world, from what I'm remembering. But at the same time, it showed to him the importance of his memories and his past. It showed him that no matter how tragic and awful the things that happened to him and the things he was forced to become, no matter how awful it was, there's still an inescapable part of not just his fate, but who he is. So I would not say that was a failed attempt. But if you mean fail, it also proved that you can't actually erase things from happening from the timeline. You can just seem to erase all history of it. So I suppose it's failed in that regard. But yeah, what Nicole said at the time, which was, believe what you see with your own eyes. Only that which you see is true. The rest is but an illusion. Is she testing us right now? Is what we see in front of us the only thing we can trust to be real?
Ah, so you've caught on. Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods, could things be happening in hidden corners where the gods' gaze does not fall? Are the things that you shall see different from the fate that the gods perceive?
Interesting. That's one way to look at it for sure.
What is she talking about? It all sounds really impressive and important and stuff, but it also sounds kind of scary.
She sounds really scary. Oh, the tea in the teacup is just about gone as well.
I believe that you understand, right? Some things are insignificant, but others you must reach out to change. Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in Tevat's future. All you need to do is to play your part. This was good tea, by the way. Thank you for your hospitality. Well, that'll be all for today.
The voice.
Okay, see
It's
you
gone.
next time. Mage N, is this the clue that you're leaving for us? Well, we got to meet Nicole again. When you wake up, someone seems to be outside. Okay, we're taking in a lot at once.
What? I want to hear someone
Hang on.
talking. Alright, come
You're getting more diligent, Paimon.
Hey, it's you who's getting lazy, okay?
If you say so.
I see I've walked in on some lively banter.
Hello, Mona. Thanks for... how have you been for the past few days?
Fine,
Thanks for
fine.
the
I went
help.
to take part in that Steambird panel. It turned out to be more interesting than I expected.
Okay, how so?
Not all Fontainians are pessimistic about this. One journalist mentioned that sitting around and waiting for the end to come would be wrong, and that they should make their own rescue preparations. I agreed, so we had a brief chat with her.
Did she
Yeah, this is this and a monocle.
Why, yes, it was Charlotte. You remember?
Yeah,
her,
that's right. She met
Daredevil
Mona during
journalist.
the event.
I'm in full support of
There-
her view. Prophecies are very important.
There's a
but
lot of
how can people
there's a
allow
lot of
their lives
references
be
to
commandeered by
events
just a few
and
words?
things in this quest.
Paimon's glad to hear something sensible for once.
Ah, yes. About what we had discussed before. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't reach the old hag.
That's okay. I
I'll
think
try again tonight, but I wouldn't get your
that's
hopes
okay.
up.
I think your pestering worked. Actually, I was gonna say the dialogue probably changes in multiple ways, depending on if you did Inversion of Genesis and if you did the Windbloom Festival for the conversation with Nicole. And similarly this, where it's like, oh yeah, the three of us, you know, Ether and Paimon and Mona, already met Charlotte. Don't worry, it was not for nothing.
Huh?
Yeah, someone actually came over because of you, so thank you.
Goodness gracious. Are you serious?
I'm 100% serious, yes. And I believe she came to pass a message to us.
She said that even the god's gaze has blind spots. Pretty bold if you ask Paimon. Most people would believe the gods to be all-knowing, right?
The Hexen Circle members are certainly anything but ordinary. As for the mage named N, the old hag has mentioned her a few times. She said that N's sense of direction is incredible, and that she loves guiding those who are lost. But I've never met her, and if she were still alive, she'd be... well, suffice it to say that the hag's at least a few hundred now, and N's been around for longer
Interesting,
than that.
but I mean,
Whoa.
you know, but, I mean, so is Alice, right?
But they
Alice
must
is
stay
really
in
old
shape
too.
to live so long.
And Clee,
Their
of
abilities
course, by
alone are
extension.
pretty terrifying. If she came to see you personally, then the problem you're facing must truly be of great importance.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like Paimon could understand anything she said.
Yes, she was quite cryptic, but I suspect she means that there is still a way to turn things around. She didn't say
You
when
have
or
to
what
go
that
for
would be,
what the
though,
gods
so
haven't considered yet.
perhaps it is something that you cannot know right now.
Her words are meant as a helpful hint, but when we realize their value and meaning, was that the best answer that my question could have gotten?
Traveler, Paimon, are you two all right?
Yeah, we're just figuring out how we
we're fine.
save the
We're
world
just a
again.
little down right now. It kind of feels like the end is coming, you know?
There always seems to be
I
a big
see.
disaster in
I feel
every
that
nation
same
we
sense
go
of
to.
desperation too.
Yeah.
I guess you could consider me someone who has often witnessed fate. So far as I have seen, it cannot be swayed. But even so, I still hope for and believe in miracles. Astrology is eternal and rational, but fate may not be. It is cruel, but it can also be beautiful. Perhaps that's what En was trying to tell you. Not to lose heart, and to believe that what you are seeing playing out before you is not yet set in stone.
Only what you see in front of you
I did originally
is
think
true.
of steering clear of all this.
The rest is but
I
an
couldn't.
illusion.
Even if this is all futile, I still wish to help everyone. If we don't struggle to the last, then how can we face the end when it comes?
Huh. You do have a point.
There I go, talking about astrological principles
No
again.
worries.
Sorry about that.
Helpful
the moment I
stuff.
start talking about work-related stuff. I need to get going.
Don't worry about it, Mona, and thank you.
It was worth trying to comfort you, even
Not
if
only
only
that,
a
your
little.
pestering got
I
Nicole
believe
to
that
come
you'll help
visit
those
us
who are
again, and we
struggling in the
got
same way
some
I
good
did.
info, really, so that
I
was
suppose
really
that
helpful.
might be why we always seem to meet by coincidence.
Aw, nice to see you again, Mona.
Paimon feels kind of moved by by what Mona said, but also kinda sad
And she's
too.
never seen fate change.
Hey, Traveler. Paimon suddenly feels like going outside for a walk. Let's go.
Oh, you never...
Let's walk around
You
the
never
city,
say
shall we?
that.
There's a few spots we always like to walk by.
Almost like you are pointing us towards some sort of answer that we need to find, Paimon. Yeah. And that's the thing in Furina's character teaser, right? Even though fate is cruel, fate's the only thing that will not deceive you, unless you can first deceive fate itself.
Huh? Our names are written in this newspaper. What's going on?
Oh, I see a disc. That's not good. Usually when our names are written in the newspaper, you know, Ether and Paimon, we seem to get up to a lot of trouble. Like, as in we've been criminals in every nation so far. So not necessarily sure that's a good thing.
Let's see. The underwater stronghold, the Fortress of Meripede, has continued in its noble autonomy, but that does not mean that others cannot interact with it. My recent attempts to enter the fortress bore little fruit. Huh. Guess Charlotte still hasn't given up on that.
Yeah, we never managed to get...
Thus,
Well,
did an
we never
outlander
gave her the
friend become
intel on
focus of
Risley,
this
but
report?
I mean, that's
A blind
fine.
adventurer
Because
with
we
their
don't need to
wife
tell her
carry
everything,
legends
right?
trailing in their wake. It is said that this mysterious traveler once visited the underwater fortress. So while the fortress's interior remains a mystery behind closed doors, do not fear, for the tales of the traveler contain surprises in spades. Journalist Charlotte's biggest scoop yet, the Traveler's Trail, World Walker. Huh.
Oh, that doesn't sound too
Took so
bad.
many awesome photos of us and we never even
Wow.
noticed her.
I mean, that's not that
Hasn't been
part's a
able to get
little
hold
not
of
nice,
anything
but
with the
thanks.
fortress,
I mean,
since
like,
we're easier to find. She's using us as the subject matter instead.
that sure seems to be the case. I mean, don't take pictures of people without their permission. However, it does appear that Ether and Paimon are quite flattered by it, so I suppose it was okay in this case. Yeah, that sure seems to be the case.
Seriously? Well, fine. Those headlines and photos do look cool, so Paimon will forgive her this time.
You know, we totally could have met up with her after we were released from prison and told her all about Risley, like she asked, but, we did not. Because that's just what we are like.
We're here! Paimon's hungry. Should we go in and get something to eat?
Sure. This is where Navia almost died. But thankfully Paimon drank her soda.
Hey, quick! Look! That's the limited edition, only 16 slices of big cake!
It hasn't already sold over the day?
So delicious the last time we tried it! Despite the tense situation we were in, let's give it another go. Paimon's sure it'll be great!
We can't let anyone get ahead of us.
One slice of cake, please. Someone showed up after all!
Was there more than one slice available?
Wait, you're the one from the Palais Mermonia.
Oh, are you here to buy cake too? It seems Monsieur Nervalette was right. You really can eat.
Wait, did he really say something like that?
Well,
That's
Paimon,
right.
it seems you have a
Even he has his own
reputation that
preferences
precedes
when it comes
yourself.
to food. As for me, I love the cake and coffee here.
Do you come here often?
Usually every day.
Every day?
It's part of my daily schedule, apart from work. I shall have my cake and coffee.
Then what if someone told you one day that this place would be closing soon, and you wouldn't get to eat cake here anymore? What would you think?
Oh, Paimon, you're
But
getting
why would
quite
it close?
Well,
dark here.
Paimon doesn't know either, but maybe the waters will rise tomorrow. You know, like in the prophecy.
Oh, the prophecy. To be honest, I haven't paid much attention to that. No, still, even if there'd be no more cake tomorrow, that wouldn't keep me from having some today. No. It's the same for eating in general. You might not be able to eat tomorrow, but if you can do so today, then you should carry on. That's what people call living, you know.
It's true. Living in the moment.
Don't be sad. Excuse me, could I have 2 more slices of cake to go?
Wait, hang on. What about the
These
cake for
2
us?
slices are for you. See,
Oh.
said that this kind of expression you're making is what
that's so
humans
kind of
call
you.
being sad.
Oh, you know
Aw.
Seachwing?
That's actually so sweet
I
of
sure
her.
do. She was born before me, and she sometimes comes to the surface to teach us things about humans. She said that humans are creatures that are saddened easily, yes, and you can only lift their spirits by feeding them delicious food. So please try the cakes here. I've got something else to do, so I'll be going now. You two try to stay in a good mood after eating, all right? Bye.
Aw, that's so kind of you. Thank you.
And there she goes. All right, let's dig in. Paimon's sure this cake will be delicious.
You sure got the
It's more
Paimon?
delicious than last time. And the flavor gets even
That's probably
better
because
with
it's
the
freshly
thicker tea.
baked.
It sure would be nice if we could come again tomorrow. Sure would be nice if we could always eat delicious food here.
No, Paimon. One day our journey will come to an end. That's all I can say. I mean, that's very interesting. I mean, now it's reminding me about, Furina again. The world is but a stage. Why cry when you can laugh? Profitons d'aujourd'hui. Right? Do you have any food for us? You have lots of food! Are these new recipes? I swear I've come here before, but these must be new unless they are not. Yeah, those are new. There is some ones from before. Oh, that was great. But it's almost like that's how Furina lives her life. Living her life. It's like she lives her life as if there's no tomorrow. And that's why she doesn't like being confronted about tomorrow.
Oh, we're near the
About the
secret
future, I
office.
mean, right?
Let's go look for Charlotte and have a chat.
If she lives like there is no future, then of course she'll be happy because things are happy now. Even if they're gonna be absolutely terrible later.
Wow.
Somebody who's waiting for their doom.
And Paimon! Oh, have you seen the article I wrote about you?
We have, and thankfully...
You just used that to make some quick mora.
Thankfully, you seem to have made Paimon and Ether very happy, so I'll let it slide this time. Next time, no. Can we negotiate a profit split?
You needn't worry about that. I heard that you were in Poisson some time back, so I sent you a letter to discuss just that. It appears you didn't receive it, though.
Well, we can talk
It's
now
all right,
if
though.
you
I've
want.
set aside the amount intended for you. I've even set the table with some food.
Okay, Paimon's in.
Oh, you're the best.
Yeah.
You're almost
Although
a little
the
too
things
easy
that
to
happen in
win over,
Poisson were
Paimon.
not very nice,
If I
but
were a journalist
I'm
with
sure they will
ulterior
make
motives, you'd
good
be in
news
trouble
for
now,
you.
know.
Oh, Paimon knows you're not like that.
No, you're not like
Still,
that
what
at
brings
all.
you here all of a sudden? Were you looking for me?
We were.
When Mona
I
mentioned
mean-
you, we thought it'd come to see you at work.
Yeah.
I see. It seems you've already bumped into Mona here in Fontaine.
That's right.
So she mentioned me? What did she say?
She said that you're
We chatted
a
with
real
you.
daredevil of a journalist.
Nice. In which case, can this daredevil journalist dare to request an exclusive interview with the legendary traveler and Paimon?
Go ahead, we're here already.
Huh? So your article in the paper today doesn't count?
Well, she didn't actually talk to us for her
Of course
article.
it doesn't. That was more like live photography. What I'd like to do is
That was more
dive
like
deeper
paparazzi,
and ask you
but
to
this
talk
is
about
real.
The things you've seen and experienced.
You seriously want to interview me?
Yeah, are we even qualified enough?
Why not? If I say you're worth an interview, then you're worth it. But not right now, of course. I'll need a few
Okay,
days
thank
to
you.
prepare.
Oh, in that case, we'll just chat when you have the time then?
Oh, so that's a yes? Ooh,
Yeah, of
splendid!
course.
I'll tell the editor-in-chief.
It's probably better than you just
You'll
stalking
private
us
lighting,
around. So
venues,
yeah,
and
let's
props.
do it.
Whew, so much to get done now. Talk to you later.
Wow, we must be very famous then. The real
Wait,
celebrities
Charlotte,
around here.
Paimon's still got a question for you.
And what's that?
If, just for example, Fontaine were to be flooded tomorrow, what would you do today?
Huh. That's the prophecy you're talking about, isn't it? I mean, I do hear about it often, but I've never once thought that the day could be tomorrow. If you're seriously asking, then I might try and think of a way to leave Fontaine. Oh, but I'm still a journalist first and foremost. That means I have a duty to be reporting from the scene. And secondly, I wouldn't forsake my homeland that easily. From what I've seen, most people don't know what they'd do should the worst come to pass. In truth, it might be better just to behave like normal rather than worry over such an end.
That's like something
So in all
somebody
likelihood,
said when we were
I'd
handing out the
probably
magic
still be
pockets
prepping
at the
office
beginning
for that
too.
interview of ours.
Yeah.
I know what you're thinking. That sounds a bit sad, but I've always believed that it's best to do what you enjoy. Just think about it. If this nation really were to be suddenly destroyed tomorrow, but I still successfully finish an exclusive interview with a truly unique person, then the story I would wind up writing would truly be timeless. And then
If
do you
there's
know what
anyone
I'd
left
do?
to read it,
Well,
then
I'd
it
write
will-
that story, send it for printing, and use messenger pigeons to get copies out to the various nations as soon as possible. I'm not a dreamer,
that's
nor am
good.
I a workaholic, but I do love my
You're
job.
a tiny bit of
And I'd be
workaholic.
proud of leaving such an article behind.
But yes, she's very
I guess you
passionate.
could say that I was born to be a journalist. But anyway, that's my answer. And on that note, I'll get back to my preparations.
That's so nice. All of a sudden, Paimon actually kinda envies her. Anyway,
You're
let's
not
go
even
and
the
take a
one
look
who's
at
going
the
to
sea,
die if
shall
the
we?
waters flood. The sea, alright. Definitely seems like Paimon brought us on this walk to enjoy Fontaine as it is.
The sea breeze and
Happy
scenery
and-
can be a pretty soothing combo, huh?
It definitely seems we're on this walk, just enjoying Fontaine as it is. Like a calm before the storm kind of thing. And very much as in a, like, enjoy today. Even if you don't wake up tomorrow, at least you enjoyed today instead of wasting today worrying about tomorrow, right? That seems to be the sentiment. And you know, when there's a prophecy that really does say that you might not wake up tomorrow, maybe that's what you do, is at least you will be happy until the end if you're so sure that it really is the end. But what if tomorrow doesn't have to be the end? In which case, do you really want to spend all this time acting like there is no tomorrow when there could be a tomorrow for you to live and enjoy, and many, many more days for you to live and enjoy with just the effort you put in now? And that's the motivation to keep going, right? That's why we all just don't sink into despair with all the bad things that could happen all around us. Is the hope that there could be a better tomorrow.
Paimon's been thinking,
Yeah?
if it wasn't Fontaine, but all of Tevat that would be destroyed tomorrow, where would we go and what would we do? No,
I know,
Paimon
right?
should ask, if you could choose, what would you like to do?
If I could choose, huh? It's just like Charlotte said. Suddenly trying to consider what to do is pointless.
We've always been moving to the next destination, so we haven't spent much time thinking about these kinds of things. We didn't have to either, with us always being on the road and whatnot.
Until that moment comes, I think I'll keep journeying on.
You mean, still traveling?
Yeah. Cherishing every single moment that I have to look upon this world. I mean, that's why you came here, right? A traveler from beyond the stars. To take in the beauty of what this world is before you got trapped here.
Huh. Wait, isn't that what we've always been doing?
The banter goes back and forth between the two of you as time slips by. As night falls, you return to your accommodations and end this busy day. The next few days are just calm, Charlotte comes to find you and conducts the interview in the Spina di Rosula safe house at the Fleuve Cendre. Navia, having finished her business in Poisson, even drops by to take a photo with the two of you. All goes well. We are enjoying the next few days very happily without us actually being present there, but okay. Whatever happened to our plan? Whatever happened to our plan to quote-unquote trap
that's for sure.
Furina?
It's not only damp there, but salty too.
Ah, so the two of you are still here. Wonderful.
Hi.
You're from the Palais Mermonia, aren't you?
Yes, I'm Isadora. Monsieur Nervillat sent me to look for you two before. I heard that afterward you went to the fortress of Meropide.
Wait, so you
Not
probably
at
think
all.
we're criminals.
I'm well aware that you're friends of his. Actually, I'm here to pass along a message from him. Yes, inside the Opera House. The Maréchaussée Phantom has declared the incident a small-scale riot.
A riot?
Okay.
Well, that said,
A
I don't
riot
personally
in the
think it was
courthouse
that
where
serious.
drama happens all the
Lady
time?
Furina was watching a performance at the Opera House, and while she was resting during an intermission, some other audience members suddenly started harassing her, loudly accusing her of doing nothing about the prophecy crisis. And before she could respond, others started to join in. The crowd continued to grow, and protests against the Hydro Archon started to break out.
So people have started to put the blame on Furina. Guess they finally found an outlet for the pressure they've been under due to the prophecy.
This is probably the plan in
People
action.
will naturally rely on gods, as
Putting
is
pressure on
customary.
Furina.
But the moment people feel threatened, gods are also the first to be blamed.
So what happened after that? Is Furina okay?
Seeing that the situation was spiraling out of control and that further argument was pointless, she claimed that she'd gotten tired of this and left in a hurry. The Maréchaussée Phantom had their hands full maintaining
As
order
she should.
and did not catch where Lady Furina
However, we
had
need
gone.
to know how she actually
Only when
feels.
things had stabilized did we realize that she had gone missing.
So, you mean she's still missing?
That's right. The Maréchaussée has dispatched many people to search for her, but we don't have any leads yet. That said, I don't think there's much to worry about. She is a god after all. Even if she were to fall into the hands of rioters, what could ordinary people do to her?
We should still see it, make sure
Good.
she's safe.
Monsieur
understand the
Nervillat sent me to
situation.
tell you about the situation, but he didn't say anything else.
Don't worry, this is more than enough to go on. Thanks for keeping us informed.
Ah, is that so? Well, all right then. In that case, you two take care. I'll be heading back to the Palais now.
Okay, bye.
Well, sounds like we should hurry
Aha,
up.
this
What's
is the
going?
plan.
If we know Furina,
You
she
sure caught
won't
on
try to
quickly.
fix things in this situation. Instead, she'll look for a place to wait out the heat. And as we also know,
Until
she
people
may
have forgotten.
be loud and dramatic, but she doesn't have a heart of stone.
No, she cares
when
about
Nervillat
people.
was talking to her in the Palais Mermonia, and she heard about
Yeah.
Poisson, she couldn't hide her sadness and remorse. It would be hard for her to ignore being accused by the public today. Paimon thinks Furina's probably taken the opportunity to slip away to Poisson and try to relieve the sense of guilt that she's feeling. Huh. Well, what do you think? Paimon knows the answer, of course, but Paimon can do the analysis to back it up, too. Cool, huh?
There you go. Pretty cool. Paimon is the best. Yeah, for sure. I mean, if people are harassing you, then yes, of course, Furina absolutely has the right to say, I'm going to leave now and not listen to this. But at the same time, we know that their concerns are valid, and thus Furina is listening to them, and she cares a lot. She cares so much that she needs that outside shell to protect her heart. that part that seems like she doesn't care about anything and is so carefree, and yeah. But I do think we need to... That's how you can tell that's somebody who's so surrounded by people and yet could not feel lonelier. And somebody who's that lonely needs somebody who they can actually talk to about how they feel. On the inside, not the outside. And... well, I don't know if we'll be those people, but at least she's kind of taking things more seriously. I know she's been helping, has been doing her own investigations on the prophecy, but if after all this time you're unable to explain to other people what exactly you've been doing, of course they're gonna get suspicious that you're not doing anything, even if you are. So, these little detective novels have had an effect on you.
Here we come!
Here we come! Hunters, prophets. I don't know if it's part of the plan or not, but I mean, it kind of sounds like a Lynette and Feminane's work.
Guess all the survivors must have evacuated already.
Certainly could be,
All that's
at
left
least.
here are signs of devastation. Could Furina really be here?
Sad.
Let's try to find her as soon as possible.
Her hair glows so much, especially when she's anxious.
That's Furina, right over there. She really is here all on her own.
Stay quiet for now.
Should I just give up? This is all meaningless. What was meant to happen did happen after all. Everyone's dead. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Give up, Furina. There's no point in holding out. I'm sorry. But what can I even do other than to repeat meaningless apologies over and over?
If there's nothing left for you to do, maybe it's time that you lean on somebody else to help you until you get to where you need to be.
Who's that?
Don't worry, Furina. It's just
It's
us.
just us. Yeah.
So it is you, blonde traveler from another land. Why, I almost thought you were someone from that mob of my ignorant subjects. Come to kneel and beg for my forgiveness.
Furina, you were crying just now, weren't you? The tear stains on your face are obvious.
What do you mean, tear stains? Oh, I remember. The show at the Opera House earlier this morning was so moving. I'm still trying to process it. Who did that uncivilized rabble think they were, disturbing my enjoyment of the arts? They even dared to tout their Archon. I must teach them a lesson. I can just imagine their twisted and frustrated faces once they realize that I'm nowhere to be found. Oh, and I'm sure Nouvellette and those people from the Maréchal Phantom are freaking out right next to them, too.
Now that she's standing here, I realize that the Furina we summoned has a vision, and in her place, this Furina has a gem on her bow instead, which is why I don't recall ever seeing her with a vision before. But yeah, stop trying to act tough, Furina. You're actually beyond devastated right now, aren't you? And if you put up that shell, that facade, in front of everybody, including the people in your inner circle who are actually worried about you, then this is why she's the endless solo of solitude, right? She's incredibly lonely.
Of course not!
Hey, there she is! The Hydro Archon's over there!
Oh, okay, we'll fight them off for you. After her, that's not
Furina,
nice
those
of
people
you.
seem to be after you.
Yeah, and how did they get here anyway?
They're just some rabid fans who want to cut the line because they haven't been able to meet me in person, aren't they? That's against the rules.
Do you need us?
I can't let them get their way.
Do you need us to take them out for you? Because we can.
Furina just ran off. Quick, we have to catch up with her.
It seems to be quite the problem. There's so many dead fish in the water, which might have to do with the primordial sea as well.
This should be the place, right? Hey, Furina! There's a good hiding spot over here. Quick, come to Paimon before the rest of them catch up to you.
What is this place?
Hurry, they're almost here.
Fine. I suppose haste is warranted.
Probably the trap.
Lead the way.
I mean, obviously, we don't want to force somebody to basically be vulnerable about their emotions in front of, and how they feel in front of you. But this is somebody who's been keeping feelings buried up for longer than humanly possible.
I'm so
because she's not a
tired.
human. And I think it's
totally
time that,
thought they had caught me.
you know, just for her own sake, not keep to herself so much.
Enthusiasm they displayed.
This place is not what we'd call soundproof. You might want to lower your voice to stay hidden.
Yep, that's a good girl.
What's happening? The ground's shaking. Is it an earthquake?
Another disaster just struck,
A quake
I
of this
suspect.
kind preceded the flooding in Poisson, didn't it?
It can't be. It's happening again.
Well, there's no need to worry too much about that. Neverlette's made some emergency plans, so the evacuation should go a lot smoother this time.
Yeah.
Except we don't know where it's going to
you're
be this
right.
time.
But the people of Poisson, they've already...
I know. Has Furina finally reached her limit? Now that she's starting to talk about her actual feelings, she's starting to look far less stiff. You begin to talk amongst yourselves as
It's true.
Furina slowly calms
I've been
down.
investigating the prophecy for hundreds of years. I once had informants all over Tevat, searching for clues and feeding information back to me. I've tried all kinds of ways, too, to hold back the sea. Anything to keep the coastline from advancing. But all my efforts proved to be futile in the end. Really, the truth has been clear to me for a very long time. We cannot make an enemy of the divine. No matter what we do, the will of the heavenly principles will have its way, and the prophecy shall be fulfilled.
But even then, you still haven't given up, right?
Give up. I do love the sound of that phrase. It would mean finally coming to terms with fate, but also for me to finally be free.
But that would also mean that all hope
Indeed.
would disappear.
I've thought about giving up so many times, especially after we almost lost Poisson. Fate is really unreasonable, isn't it? It has no heart and obeys no rules. The prophecy has only just started to come true, and so many people have already lost their lives. But just now, it all became clear to me. I still don't have the right to come to terms with fate on behalf of everyone else. As long as the final moment hasn't come, it's still not too late. Don't worry. I will keep hope alive for everyone until the very end. Well,
But it seems like
that's
we've gotten
enough
to
for
a
now.
point.
I got the impulse to play the stricken maiden.
Well,
But honestly, considering my rank and station, that wasn't a good fit at all.
whether it fits or not, sometimes being real means just things don't fit together well. The puzzle pieces of life and yourself fit together in a ugly pattern sort of way, and yet still it's the only way it really works. So, but yeah, still, I mean, it's more like I would say that her sense of hope is really not great for the rest of Fontaine. It really just serves herself to be able to live happily every day, because it clearly seems as though people have finally gotten tired of, well, our Archon, who is a celebrity, is going to be happy-go-lucky, so we're going to be happy too. It seems that people are not so enthralled with that anymore. And I just don't think that's quite working out the way you want it to. But at the same time, it's all you know to do now at this point. It's your instinct to hide that vulnerability, and, well, it's served you well until now. So I guess that's how do you break that habit in someone, right?
Don't take any of what I just said seriously. How could I possibly let Fontaine fall to the whims of
Remember,
trivial prophecy?
The sound. They're gonna find us in
I could
here.
have sworn you were actually being honest just now.
Yeah. We're running out of time. We can't just go back to square one like this. I have to get more information out of her. Furina, you might not have to shoulder this burden alone. Although I don't know what you might be keeping from everyone, your people are more than willing to share your burden with you.
Burden. That's impossible. It was fated right from the start that this would be my duty alone.
But even if your burden doesn't need to be shared, you can still choose to confide in someone. Just share it with me. I'm what you'd call a witness. That's right. At the end, even if all of Teyvat, its memories, its history, and everything were to be destroyed, the traveler would still remember. And so many people along the journey have considered us to be the witness of the happenings of this world. So, and that being said, putting it that way, your secret's also safe with us, because we're keeping a lot of other people's secrets too as part of our memories and history,
A witness.
record keeping.
Yes, I've heard that you came to Teyvat from beyond the stars, yes. In other words, you never belonged here. And if Teyvat is, in its entirety, a show on a stage, then you're just a spectator, aren't you? If that's the case...
There's no time left. Please, Furina, just spit it out. Honestly, that's true. This is the plan. Hey, Lenny! We did it! Gosh, our plan is so genius.
Gentlemen, this concludes my opening performance. Now, without further ado, we may proceed to the trial of our god.
So, this is what it is. Yes, you deserve praise for the effort you took to raise the dramatic stakes.
Yeah,
Do
Lenny's
not
pretty good
forget,
at that.
however, that I am Fosalor, the god of justice, the embodiment of justice itself. Does it not strike you as even the least bit absurd to bring the very concept of justice to trial?
It is
May
a
I
bit
interpret
paradoxical,
these
yes.
words as your refusal to stand trial?
Look how much many
that
props we had.
You will have the
Liddy
opportunity
had to make this look
defend
like.
your honor through a duel.
Oh. Like to make it look like Poisson.
You would draw your blade against a god?
I mean, that says a lot.
I see. It seems like you have made up your mind.
Paimon can't believe it. She just surrendered.
I don't think she would win against Clorand in a fight.
What the heck is going on? Did I just see an Archon surrender to a human?
Wow, how utterly humiliating.
Gosh, you know what?
What is the meaning of this?
This is why in real trials we can't have the audience
It
just
would seem that there
interrupting
has been
and
a
just giving their
misunderstanding.
commentary
To be
all
clear,
the time
raising of both
while
hands
in the
is
trial.
Not always an indication of surrender.
Looking for excuses again, huh?
I raised my hands just now to indicate my acceptance of the trial. No duel shall be necessary. I will admit that I've been running away for a long time. I'm sorry, everyone. I was unable to protect the people of Poisson. It is my duty to stand trial for my crimes. You are not the only ones to be disappointed in me. I, too, am exceedingly disappointed in myself. But now, it is time for the Hydro Archon
tiny little
to
bit
show
of
you her
humility to
courage
her
and
people.
resolve. I, Furina, will use this trial to show the world the true meaning of justice. This time, I will protect you. Applaud and
Who,
rejoice.
the people?
One of the most outrageous and fantastical arcs known to the opera epiclese is now unfolding before your eyes.
That's great. Let's
Mark
get up
my
to the
words.
stand now.
This shall be one of the most exhilarating and brilliant shows ever to grace the stage of Fontaine. The trial of the Hydro Archon,
Right.
Focalor, will
But in the
now
end-
begin.
I mean, woohoo, that's great. I mean,
Now we're making history.
in the end, it's not about how dramatic the trial was. Yeah, right, Navilla? It's not how
Just took
dramatic
over
it
the
is.
whole
I mean,
thing. Like, come on! Didn't she just get forced to stand
I,
trial
mean,
for her
I hope
crime?
this will teach Farina
Also,
now
even though she's
to
still acting super dramatic,
that, you know,
she
it,
is
making
taking this
trials all
seriously
dramatic and
this time,
stuff
right?
really makes a
Alright,
mockery
then.
of people's
Who
lives.
will be my opponent in this trial?
The court asks the prosecutor to please take the stand.
Thank you, Your Honor. Oh, it's us.
Is that so? Very well. Then please speak, witness of Tivat, my accuser and fated opponent.
We were so close to getting her to tell us the truth, and it still turned out like this in the end. It's okay though, as long as we can defeat Furina in the court, we'll still have a chance to figure everything out. That's true. Linny, you could have waited like 2 minutes extra and we would have gotten it. No, but it's fine.
Also, please allow me to ask, as a final question before the trial begins.
Go for it.
Just how much work did you do to force me onto this stage?
Well,
Enough to prove the resilience of all of humanity.
I can go over the tasks assigned to the Spina di Rosula, since they were rather straightforward and easy.
No, we don't. This is not relevant. This is not relevant to the trial. We don't need to go into the
Most of the people who
details
participated
right
in the
now.
disturbance this morning were my subordinates. They
Yeah, I
changed into plain
figured.
clothes and came to the opera house as regular audience members, waiting for the perfect
I figured out that was part of the
opportunity
plan, to chase
insurrection
her
against you.
towards
The
Poisson.
people's resentment against their Archon has been building as more and more of the prophecy is fulfilled. A spark was all we needed to turn smoldering anger
Almost like a flash
into
mob.
a flame.
You have a few people to start, and then everyone else
According to
joins
our
in.
understanding and analysis of
Except
you,
everyone else
when
joining
something
in
like that occurred,
is just joining
you
in
would
because
likely
it
flee
seemed
the
that the
scene
cool
and
thing to
head
do.
Poisson by yourself. So, we arranged for a second group to lie in wait there.
So, you mean The ones who scoured the settlement for me were also from
This
the
is a
Spina.
very genius plan, though.
And
I
their
like
goal
it.
was to force you to step into the giant magic box so you may personally participate in the greatest magic performance in all of Fontainian history.
That's right. That house was a magic box, rather than someone's residence.
As the
Although,
super ultimate version
you-
of the setup that I used when I
Yeah,
first
it's super
performed at the
ultimate, but
opera
you know
Epic
what?
class,
That was
the
all the
volume
way
of
in
the box was
Poisson.
increased
That
by
was
a
literally
whole order
several
of
kilometers
magnitude,
away.
and the distance it traversed was the entire gap between Poisson and Aranese.
You
Its
couldn't
cargo,
have dug a
of course,
hole to do that in
was
like
an
5
Archon
days?
instead of a human. My thanks, Furina. Without your help, we could never have pulled off such an extraordinary performance.
That is actually quite extraordinary, Lenny.
You're welcome.
Of
You're
course, this
welcome.
performance was only made possible with Father's support. The House
Even
of the Hearth
still.
spent a massive amount of labor in Mora to pull this off.
I'm still not sure,
We had
even
to
with a
select
ton of money
location,
and
construct a
resources,
giant magic box,
this was
dig a
something
tunnel,
doable
and
in the
open up a
time
path through
frame,
the
but
water. It was
sure.
a lot of work for all of us.
So, in other words, the earthquake that we felt within the giant magic box
Oh,
was just
I was
a
wondering
normal
about that, because
tremor
Ethan
from
Paimon
the
seemed not as concerned as
transportation of
they
the
should
whole
have been.
house.
That's right. It wasn't a sign of another disaster to come.
I'm really sorry about that.
Then, I can guess Nervillette and Cloran's parts. You gathered a crowd, prepared a stage, and made sure that the champion duelist would be immediately ready for a fight. Also that as soon as I appeared on the stage, the trial may commence without a hitch. Am I right?
Sounds like it.
Yes, that is correct.
That was actually
Well,
surprisingly
Cloran,
straightforward.
I must commend you for your courage. Only the most outstanding champion duelist in all of Fontaine would accept a duel with an Archon without flinching.
Thank you.
As
Yes,
for
that is very
you,
cool.
Traveler, I suppose your role was to keep me distracted with conversation once you found me in Poisson.
True, but at the same time, it's not like we were being disingenuous. As we were saying during the meeting, our goal is not to hurt or kill the prey in this hunting analogy. We just want answers. And so, we did not mean to hurt you with our conversation. Let's just keep that clear.
You'd make sure that I didn't notice anything amiss before revealing yourself as my prosecutor once we'd arrived onto the stage.
No, you guessed wrong.
Oh?
My mission was to give you one last chance. We hoped that you'd share your secret with us before the magic box arrived onto the stage.
Is that so? Then I suppose I must have missed my final chance.
Yeah, I think you did, yeah. Unless you want to say it now.
It matters not. What's
You
done
plead
is
guilty,
done.
we can have this trial go
The
much
stage
faster.
is already set, so there's no reason to disappoint the audience. Let's see this trial through to the very end.
There we go. Yeah, the only thing we can do now is judge the Hydro Archon. Still, I can't help but be a little bothered by the conversation earlier. What did Furina want to say to me right before we arrived on the
Prosecutor,
stage?
please allow me to pass this along.
Okay.
This is a document that Miss Charlotte applied for and received permission to share with you during the trial. According to her, it should speed up the proceedings.
Okay.
Huh? Charlotte wanted to give us something?
Well, if you need anybody to dig up dirt on somebody else, I guess it'd be Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte.
Paimon-see. Isn't this the exclusive interview that she did with us before? So she's already finished
How
it, huh?
is this going to speed up the trial, I
Wait.
wonder?
Then that means this document is a perfect timeline of everything that's happened ever since we stepped foot in Fontaine.
Everything. That must have been a long interview that we did with her
So in
then.
other words, we can refer to this anthology of evidence every time we want to use something from our journey as evidence for an argument.
Oh, great. It's a super practical gift. I would never have thought of using it this way.
Let's quickly confirm the information in it. Just think of it as a refresher, alright?
We could use a refresher. Sure.
You defeated the Hydro Archon in the very first duels you took part in at the Opera House. That's one for the history books, all right.
And we're not even an actual attorney.
I didn't think that you'd wind up getting to the bottom of the case I'd been following all this time. I guess you could also see this as a happy coincidence.
Yes.
This is the first time Monsieur Nervillette had a difference of opinion with the Oratrice. Even the Hydro Archon can't figure it out.
And the evidence doesn't add up either. So.
A Fatui Harbinger. She's an extraordinary person. Her instinct must mean something.
Not only is Furina not really the Archon, but that she's actually afflicted with some sort of curse. I thought she was just, you know, speculating at that point, but the more time goes on, there's actually something to that, you know.
The fortress of Meripede was almost destroyed in a single day. That I didn't witness that scene personally will always be a source of professional regret, I think.
Yeah, sorry. It's only temporary pushback by Nervillette's power.
According to Monsieur Nervillette, both Child and that whale should have been in the primordial sea at that time.
That's a nice sketch of a whale that we would have had to describe from a dream that we had. In terms of like, this is like third-hand information, and that's a pretty good drawing.
I nearly lost my awesome friend Navia. To be honest,
Aww.
that still gives me shivers.
Only protection of the dead members of the Spina di Rosula prevented her from dissolving. Yeah.
The words of someone as extraordinary as a witch can probably only be truly understood when something surreal happens to you.
Interesting. Okay. We got our evidence then. Let's go.
The prosecution and the defense are both in position. The trial shall now begin.
Alright.
Oh, come on, Nervillette. There's no need to repeat all the unimportant legalese. Just fast forward to the part where the prosecution lays out my offenses. As the defendant and the lead actress of this performance, I still haven't even been informed of my supposed guilt in all of this. Of course, it is only natural for humans to struggle to understand the actions of a god. However, you will need more than that to convict me of a crime.
That's true. But my charge here is unrelated to your conduct as an Archon.
That's right. You tell him, Ether.
Instead, I would like to charge you as a fraud who's never been the Archon in the first place.
Wait, what was that?
What was that?
Lady Furina's a fraud?
Hey, I came here thinking that we were going to try the Hydro Archon for forsaking her duty, but did I hear that right? She's not our Archon at all.
And who would the Archon be?
Charge accepted.
Okay. That can only mean
Lady
that Nervillette
Furina,
has been suspecting the
do you
same
plead
thing.
Guilty to the charge.
If he's so ready to go along with it.
Lady Furina.
I plead not guilty. How can I be guilty? There is no way that I, Focalor, otherwise known as Furina de Fontaine, a member of the Seven and the Regina of all waters, kindreds, peoples, and laws of Fontaine, could be anything other than your true Archon.
Yeah. Even though Lady Furina can be rather eccentric, isn't it going too far to...
I agree that this is a bit much, and yet somehow we're gonna do it.
I've never questioned her
because
identity either.
the Traveler
Sure,
is
Lady
capable of
Furina can
amazing
be
things.
Super irresponsible, but what grounds does that prosecutor have to make such a huge claim?
Let's see.
I have cause to believe that common sense will prevail in this case. Many of the members of the audience have known me as the
That's
Hydro
true. She's
Archon
immortal. That
ever
would be the
since they were
biggest thing
born.
that
There would be no fool
indicator
in their
to
memory. See,
that she is the Archon,
even
but
the
still.
Oratrice has decided to show me its favor. Are you sure you
Well,
want
it's
to
only-
commit
only
to a
a
charge
little
that
bit.
will never be upheld? If you wish to drop the case, I can promise you as the
No
god of
intimidation.
justice,
We are gonna do
that
this.
You will not have to face trial for making
What
a
exactly are we
false
doing, Ether?
accusation.
Or how are we gonna convince
We
them
will
that she's
treat
not the
everything
Archon?
that's happened as a
With
dramatic
our
spectacle
story.
and move on with our lives. What do you say to that?
An argument with near impossible odds, huh? We have to not only refute Furina's claims, but also overturn the long-held beliefs of the people.
The people only see you as their Archon because that's their long-held belief.
Well, I tried to give you the chance to surrender. If you must persist, then let me ask. If you believe I'm not the Archon, then what manner of being do you think I am?
That's the question I have.
And if I was not the Archon?
That's the other
then
question I
how
have.
did I manage to live for over 500 years?
I've got to think carefully. What do we know to be special about Furina exactly? Okay, let me see. None of these are about Furina. Why can Furina live for so long despite being... She's human. I don't know. Why can Furina live for so long despite being human, I think is what she was to say. Yeah, it's irrelevant. So this or this? I mean, doesn't so. I mean, this is just Arlecchino reiterating what we just said, which is that Furina is not the Archon, but she's afflicted with some sort of curse. Interesting. Is it a curse that keeps her alive?
First of all, you may be a member of another long-lived race, which would allow you to naturally possess an extended lifespan.
Klee.
And second of all, even if that wasn't the case, there could be other ways to extend your life.
Such as a curse.
Who gave you that idea? Was it the knave? You'd sink so low as to use a harbinger's words against me.
Yeah, I will admit, even Ether, this doesn't seem the kind of thing Ether would do, but it's exactly this. It doesn't matter who gave us information. What matters is the veracity of the claim. All of this is just accusation until we can prove with evidence that it's true. And she is innocent until proven guilty.
A curse? I once thought it possible that the aura of an Archon might naturally resemble a type of curse. But in light of this claim, perhaps what I sensed was not your divinity, but a curse after all.
You sensed it too, huh, Neverlet?
So Furina, instead of an Archon, could you just be a cursed human?
Lady Furina is actually a human?
Well, it is true that it's extremely difficult to tell humans and gods apart just by looking at them. It's not impossible.
But who would be the actual Hydro Archon then if it's not her?
Well, don't start celebrating too early now. Even if I have been carrying a curse like you said, how does that prove that I am merely a human being? Besides, everyone knows that the main difference between a human and a god is the possession of authority. Gods can do what humans cannot. That's why they're worshipped as gods.
What have you done exactly?
Manifestations of my authority have served the nation of Fontaine. One need only to turn their eyes towards the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal in this very opera house, or consider the indemnitium that is used in every
What exactly is
life.
indemnitium? Wait, that one trial proved the opposite. Furina actually has no control over the Oratrice at all. Yeah, you had no idea what was going on. Oh, well, this as well. Yeah, that. Because you didn't know why it takes something different than Neverlet.
But weren't you as confused as all the rest of us when the Oratrice declared child to be guilty without any proof? Otherwise, you should have come up with a good explanation.
And we don't know what the Oratrice actually is either.
Didn't I make myself clear at the time? The decisions of the gods are naturally difficult for humans to comprehend.
So if it's so difficult,
there is no
explain it
need
to us in a way we
provide
understand.
an explanation.
No,
Lady
I
Furina,
disagree with that.
I believe a reminder of your current circumstances is in order. While the court is in session, the principles of justice and the law must come before all else. While you are an Archon, you are also first and foremost the defendant in this trial. You will prove yourself unable to defend against the prosecution's charges if you continue to withhold vital information against the rules of the court.
I never thought you'd use that kind of rhetoric against me.
That was no trick of rhetoric, Lady Furina. I've merely reiterated the rules of the court. Rules that all should respect and follow.
So, you neither knew why Child was declared guilty, nor did you understand the structure and operations of the Oratrice. Instead of having been created by you, the manifestations of authority you mentioned have been made by the real Hydro Archon, haven't they?
The real Hydro Archon. Well, now you're really losing me. It is true that I did not know why the Oratrice gave out a guilty verdict that day. But the Oratrice handed out that verdict unilaterally, and it has been operating independently ever since it was first created. You can't argue that just because a divine creation is flawed, that the god behind it must also be no god at all.
Right, but we're stacking evidence now.
She's throwing out all kinds of excuses. Seems like she's confident that we won't be able to produce proof that she has no power over the Oratrice.
Sure, we can put the Oratrice aside for now. But then, Miss Furina, Mademoiselle Furina, if you will, could you please give us a brief demonstration of your power as an Archon? And remember, we've met 4 Archons already, and seen them all use their divine power. So, just remember who you're talking to.
My power as an Archon. There are many ordinary citizens in the audience. How can I just carelessly demonstrate the formidable power of an Archon?
Do you want them to worship you or
If
not?
that poses a concern, I'm prepared to extend my protection to the audience.
Oh, thank you so much, Nebula.
You don't need to go that far.
A brief demonstration of your power over Hydro should be quite harmless. Surely an Archon can at least match the capacities of a human with a vision.
Aren't you the Hydro Archon? Or is it that you can't even wield the power of Hydro, much less the authority of a god?
Indemnitium! Yes! It's all because of Indemnitium! All Archons derive their power from the faith of the people.
I will commend her. It is actually an amazing skill to be able to come up with so many bluffs in such a short amount of time under so much pressure.
With energy for their daily lives. Have you ever seen a more magnanimous god?
Yes, we've met a few.
Isn't that a huge stretch?
It's a massive stretch.
No matter how generous an Archon can be, how could they give up all their power? Can a god with no power even still be called a god?
It seems like nobody's buying Furina's excuse.
I'm so sorry we're doing this to you, Furina, by the way, but you left us with no choice.
Now, everyone, please don't stare at me as if I was a liar. I'm still the same Furina you knew, right? The one that you loved. Shouldn't you want to
I don't think they really loved the real you, though.
Please?
They only loved who they believed you were.
Me.
If what the prosecutor said is true,
and maybe
she really has committed a grave
maybe
offense.
The people in your life that want to be your real
And
friends,
all of our parents
maybe
and
you should let
grandparents
them
too?
in instead.
And then all of our ancestors, ever since they were born?
Enough. That's enough. Tell me then, if I'm not the real Hydro Archon, then who is?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
If you have no evidence of another Hydro Archon's existence, nor can you find anyone who can back up their claim to be such, then what grounds have you to say that I'm not actually
Well, hang on. This is not a process of elimination. It's not as if we can't find another one, that you are the one.
How can we refute her now?
But it's true. I'm curious who the real Hydro Archon is in this argument. If we can't prove that she isn't the Archon, we can try to prove that she's just a human. And if she's only human... The water? Can we try dissolving her with the water? That seems really cruel. But, I mean, that would do it, right? No, but we don't want her to kill her. We don't. She doesn't deserve that bad. She doesn't deserve a punishment that bad. Huh? I'll be falling to seawater. Wait, which one of these is it? Not this, because we're not looking for a display of power here. Oh, it's something to do with the primordial seawater, but like these all kind of have to do with it. This one?
It has been established that all Fontainians can dissolve in water from the primordial sea. And that means...
Since you insist on claiming to be a god and not a human, then there's a method that you can use right here and now to eliminate all suspicions of you being the latter.
If you can touch the
Miss
water.
Navia, please apply to serve as a temporary attorney for the prosecution before addressing the court. Though you act in partnership with the prosecutor,
Navia
you must
interrupts the
still
court
adhere
a
to
lot.
proper
That's like the
procedure.
third time.
Super sorry, Monsieur Chief Justice. I swear
Although,
this really
Navia,
will
it's
be the
fine.
last
We got
time that I'll
this,
speak out of
even.
turn.
But thank you.
Now, I've brought some seawater from Poisson. As everyone knows, a massive flood struck the area not long ago, taking many lives, including those of some of my closest friends. So, Miss Furina, would you dare to touch some of the seawater? If we are to believe that you are indeed the real Hydro Archon, touching the seawater would have no effect on you. All it should do is strengthen your case. But if you don't dare to touch it, then we would have basically proved the reverse.
Yes.
Oh, and I must remind you that after the disaster at Poisson, nobody wants to see any more people dissolve. I do hope you'll act prudently and choose the simpler path of admitting guilt.
Navia from the Spina di Rasula. The Spina has governed Poisson for many years. I guess her suggestion is valid.
You guess her suggestion is valid.
If Lady Furina is indeed
It's not
just
only
a
valid,
human,
it
she's
is
probably
very
Fontaine like all
definitive
the rest
in
of
that.
us. Would she really dare to try?
Or is she Fontainian, even? Neuvillette describes himself as not even being from Fontaine. Well, not that. He describes himself as an outsider. And in his story quest, we kind of show him, you've become an integral part of the society in these past 500 years. You're not an outsider anymore. But from literal terms, you know, I wonder if Furina is the same. In which case, she would be able to touch the water. Look, let's just see what happens. Are you okay, Furina?
Lady Furina, this test has been unilaterally proposed by the prosecution. As it falls outside the realm of standard court proceedings, you possess the right to decline participation.
Well, of course he had to tell her that. But refusing to participate is
legal
basically
disclaimer,
the same as
but-
a confession of guilt.
She's just staring at the water without saying a single word. It really does seem like she's quite terrified of it. That could only mean...
What's going on? Is she really planning to... that's not what we thought she would...
Due to the inherent risk of the test, Lady Furina, you may...
Hey!
She actually...
I'm fine! Look at me, everyone! My hand is still here! I haven't been dissolved!
Great,
Will you
actually.
believe me now? I really
That
am
she didn't
your
die.
Archon!
It doesn't... But then somebody proposed another thing. What if she's not even from Fontaine?
Touch this water! Really? Was this not the most obvious thing in the world?
Miss Siegewing? If you're present, Miss Siegewing, please come forward and attend to the defendant.
Hey, Siegewing, you're here.
Siegewing?
Don't be nervous. It'll just take a few seconds. Let me see.
Wow, we're getting everybody involved here.
That should be enough.
Please announce the results of your evaluation to the court, Miss Siegewing.
As everyone doubtlessly saw, Miss Furina was displaying symptoms of hyperventilation and flushed skin. These indicate that she was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure to primordial seawater. The extent to which she was affected is the
Oh,
same
so
as
it's
other
diluted.
humans when exposed to
Of course, 'cause we weren't actually
primordial
going to let her
seawater of a
die.
similar concentration.
Thank you, Miss Siegewing. Lady Furina, you
And
may
even though
return to the
Neuvillette
defendant's
said
stand.
this is not part of the court proceedings, he clearly planned for this.
I didn't get dissolved! Shouldn't that be enough
It's probably
to prove
just
my
like
innocence?
synth, where it's
Well,
incredibly diluted.
Considering your tendency to run from your problems, we did originally prepare a direct sample of the seawater around Poisson. However, after extensive discussion, we exchanged it for a sample that is not concentrated enough to dissolve an actual human. After all, On the off chance that something entirely unexpected might occur.
We're nice. We didn't want you to
don't
die.
want anyone else to lose their life to the sea.
Yeah, so out of regard for Furina's life, you secured a low-concentration sample and asked the head nurse to serve as an expert witness. It's a great thing that the direct sample wasn't actually used. Furina could have...
Died on the spot.
I can't believe... you...
What's really going on here? Furina can't have known the consequences of touching that water as a human. This is too unlike how she usually acts. Unless it's actually more important... Okay. It's actually more important that... I don't know what she said. It was probably along the lines of she was willing to throw her life away for this. But hadn't she given up on everything a long time ago?
Listen to me, everyone! Please don't give me such cold and disdainful looks! What happened just now didn't prove a single thing! Think about it! How can you conclusively prove that an Archon can't also be affected by the primordial seawater?
Furina, the evidence is stacking up. This is...
If I was really just a human, why would I dare to just put my hand in that kind of water?
Maybe the same reason that Callus was willing to go into that duel with Clorinde.
Please, everyone, anyone, just listen to me. I swear, I really am your Archon.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. The odds are just too stacked against her now.
With all the things that have been said, Paimon doesn't think there's any way left for Furina to win.
I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment.
I'm sorry, Furina.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. She's too stacked against her now.
In my capacity as Chief Justice, I shall now render judgment on Furina's misrepresentation of herself as the Archon of Fontaine. As a human who knowingly deceived her fellow citizens, Furina is...
I'm sorry.
guilty. We shall now turn to the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale to render the final verdict on the charges.
Uh-oh. I don't think we should be trusting the Oratrice very much right now.
According to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale, Furina is...
Well, what's wrong? What's the Oratrice's verdict?
It can't be.
No. The Oratrice also displays a guilty verdict.
Isn't that correct then?
Shh, Paimon.
However, the exact wording of the verdict is thus. The Hydro Archon, guilty, to be punished via the death sentence.
The death sentence?
No one's ever been sentenced to the death
One of the
sentence in
available
Fontaine.
sentences? I've always thought that it was just a myth.
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court, and it's been given to the very person we've worshipped as the god of justice? What an unexpected twist.
Furina's been sentenced to death by the Oratrice? We just wanted to use the trial to show her the seriousness of things so she'd tell us the truth.
I'm sorry.
How did things escalate this quickly?
This outcome is indeed quite strange. According to Fontaine's current definitions of justice, as well as its recommendations for criminal sentences, is this sentence really appropriate for the crimes that have been committed?
I think that's disproportionate.
Even Fache wasn't sentenced to death by the Oratrice. You know, the real evil mastermind behind the serial disappearances case.
What's more strange is, instead of Furina, the Oratrice rendered the judgment on the Hydro Archon. I don't know. This thing is it's not just handing out justice based on the people. It's handing out justice based on the prophecy, which I think would also explain why Child was sentenced as well.
Indeed. Not only is Furina's sentence overly excessive, the very point of our trial today was also to prove that Furina has never been the Hydro Archon in the first place. But now, the Oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the title of the Hydro Archon. What does this mean?
You better start telling us the rest of your secrets now.
Excuse me.
Femine! I noticed he was missing, and I'm like, what is your role in this? Femine, you're talking in front of so many people.
Trial's still going?
Femine!
Oh, you finally made it.
I noticed he was gone. I didn't want to say anything at the beginning, but I was like, winning with magic. What did Femine do?
Will always be top priority.
Okay, and the mission was... With some help from the other Fatui, Femine brings a stone slate onto the other one.
The first prophecy slate?
There's a person there. Shows someone creating...
So the knave privately arranged for Fremine to try and find
Oh, because he's a diver. He could find it
I
underwater.
looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea. It took me a long time to get around some dangerous stretches of water.
You're talking in front of so many people.
But has the trial already concluded? Then doesn't that mean I've come too late? Oh no. Father will be disappointed in me.
Oh, it's fine. The mystery hasn't been resolved yet. It's still not too late for you to shine.
Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Fremine. Please allow me to review the record left on the slate.
Thank you, Fremine. Femine coming in clutch
Traveler,
to...
believe that you have already seen the other existing slates. And would like you to come here
You know,
and
we should
confirm
take
their
Do
contents.
we have pictures of the slates? Because we definitely should.
Huh? So what do you see? What is it?
This looks like the previous Hydro Archon releasing her divine power, turning the Oceanids into human beings.
I believe I've now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime. It has to do with Fontaine's lost history.
Okay.
Huh? Isn't the Hydro Archon just guilty of deceiving her people? Oh, wait, no, that's Furina, and we've already...
But if you notice, Furina is also part of the last two slates as well.
So when you say Hydro Archon, do you mean the real Hydro Archon we've been kinda talking about?
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until this point can be traced back to the contents of these stone slates. However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently make to you.
How did Femine drag that thing up from the ocean? Did he go by himself or did he bring other people? Well, he probably found it and then they used like a machine or a crane or something to lift it up once he found it, I guess. An association between the contents of the slates and the events in real life.
Okay, let's try to recall the contents of the other 3 stone slates.
Why do you have to recall? Why didn't you just take pictures of them with your fancy camera that you have? Select to check the descriptions on the stone slates and extract key information from them. You can find scenarios related to the stone slate's contents and the incidents recorded in the interview notebook. There you can verify said content. As the verification process continues, the fountain water level in the menu interface will rise. When you have finished verifying all the stone slates, the truth behind the prophecy shall be revealed. Oh, we are getting into... We're finally going to solve the prophecy then.
The stone slate describes what you just said. It seems to show the previous Hydro Archon using her divine power, and then the Oceanids turn into humans. Does that mean that Fontainians are transformed Oceanids? Oh, Paimon wasn't expecting that. But if Oceanids can turn into humans, then perhaps this process can be reversed as well.
Which is what we've witnessed with people who have dissolved.
The second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro Archon and her people worshipping it together. But the heavens still brought judgment down upon them. This must be the point when the Hydro Archon and the Fontainians were branded with their original sin. Does this mean that the original sin and the Hydro Archon sin are the same thing?
Just the sin of them existing.
The third slate shows the Hydro Archon seeking into the sea surrounded by
Except
many
this time
people.
it's Furina Hydro Archon instead.
That reminds Paimon, didn't we also watch that happen to someone else? Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy the Fontainians have been talking about.
Is that
People
what she's
dissolving
talking about?
into the sea, the Hydro Archon crying on her throne, and so on. We didn't believe that such a crazy disaster could happen at first, did we? But after that incident, it was just a question of when and not if.
Okay. The real events related to the prophecies in on the prophecy slates. She seems to show the former Hydro Archon using divine power to turn oceanids to people. Well, I mean, Navia, you saw once the people dissolved, they became oceanids. Okay, well, Vache, once you started murdering people, they became oceanids. There
We
you go.
know from the case of the serial disappearances of young women that Fontainians can be dissolved in primordial seawater, and this might be
Oops,
the reason
I
that
didn't know he had what to say.
Fontainians can dissolve.
Okay. Oh, that was pretty scary. He got what he deserved, by the way. Okay. The stone slates in the ruins showing the prophecy describe a history of the future. It shows Celestia floating in the sky and the Hydro Archon and her people worshipping it together, but the heavens still brought judgment down upon them.
Perhaps what is about to take place has all happened before. The true sin of the Hydro Archon that Nervalette mentioned, and the original sin cast down on the people of Fontaine by Celestia, as recorded on the stone slates.
Interesting. So, the Hydro Archon has been sentenced to death, but is it even talking about Furina in this case? It shows the Hydro Archon sinking into the sea, surrounded by many people. Child was sinking into the sea.
It's not as simple as falling into the sea. When Navia fell into the sea, her consciousness was subjected to judgment.
That's right.
The stone slates show the people gathered around the Hydro Archon in the sea. Could that be alluding to the same thing?
That's right. Navia saw all the people that she couldn't save, and the primordial sea was trying to call out to her to join them. It shows a scene that is basically identical to that described in the prophecy circulating through Fontaine. Fontainians will eventually be dissolved into the sea, and the Hydro Archon will sit alone on her throne and weep. Well, but we heard Nicole say... No, okay. That was a good time to bring it up, but... No, okay.
The prophecy from the stone slates found its way into society, but not many people believed it at first.
Right.
The fortress of Meropide was
That's
nearly
right, I
flooded
remember
with
now.
primordial seawater, which we know can cause Fontainians to dissolve. It seems increasingly likely that the prophecy may come true. If we hadn't dealt with it in time,
And
things could have
Risley
gone
was
very
telling us
badly.
how the history of the fortress of Meropide is that the previous Hydro Archon
Into the primordial
built
sea,
it
but
so her
won't cease
people
to
could
exist. Their
atone for their sins by helping her with against the prophecy,
and take the
or
form of an
against
Oceanic.
whatever the thing was at the time.
The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone present. Perhaps this means that her sin was actually Fontaine's original sin.
It's a very complicated way of looking at it, but yes.
Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people of Poisson in a court within her consciousness, and was forced to take part in a trial meant to make her stay.
I see.
The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meripede was the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass no matter what. The prophecy's contents can all be verified by recent events. If we combine what we know together, loads of truths should come to light.
Well, we did it. There's still a ton of unanswered questions here.
Huh? Oh, Paimon gets it now! So that's how you can make sense of it!
That's right.
But then it feels like we're going to have to share some truly shocking revelations.
We're already here,
Let's
so...
hear them.
The first slate reveals that Fontainians are not real humans.
Incredible. Linny, did you hear that?
We're not real humans.
Well, I wouldn't put it that
All Fontainians were
way.
originally created by the late previous Hydro Archon, with
I'd say you're
Oceanids as their
magically
basis.
created humans is more
The
like
evidence
it.
for that can be found in how only Fontainians could dissolve in primordial seawater, and how all the girls Vacher dissolved were also turned into Oceanids. Oh, and according to Navia, when she was about to get dissolved, she also saw everyone gathered around for a trial, all of them in the shape of Oceanids.
Indeed.
The second slate reveals that the crime of the Hydro Archon was her creation of Fontainians from Oceanids.
Yeah, and it follows from the content of the first slate that she probably angered Celestia by creating humans without prior permission. That could also explain why the Oratrice judged the Hydro Archon to be guilty. It's to account for that ancient sin.
But then similarly to a child's case, why is it judging for a crime that's not the subject of the trial? This was not, this sin was not the subject of the trial, and similarly, even if there's plenty of things that child is guilty for, is certainly not the disappearances case.
The Hydro Archon's true sin was creating us?
That's so sad if
And
you put
yet,
it like
after
that.
many hundreds of years, the Hydro Archon's creations have turned around to try to judge the Archon within the Opera Epiclese. The twists of history are often the most unexpected of all.
As for the third slate, I'm still convinced that it should come after the fourth slate. Except for the fact that it doesn't, which leads me to believe it actually should be that way, and we're about to find out why.
Yeah, isn't the image here just like when Navia fell into the sea? So wouldn't it be trying to show the image of the Hydro Archon also falling into the sea once the prophecy has been fulfilled in the fourth slate?
And yet, they were put in that order on stone slates that cannot be easily moved for a reason. I know the first one got removed, but I assumed it's not like somebody would go to the effort of switching them around and putting them back in perfect place. Which leads me to believe that they are in the correct order, and we just don't understand why yet. The fourth slate depicts the fulfillment of the prophecy as it's already widely known.
In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people
So
of Fontaine
sad.
be washed away.
Their only sin is
Did I get all
existing.
that right?
In that case, then.
You've made some keen deductions. I must say, given how much you still don't know, it is
Yeah, there's
impressive
a
that
ton
you
we
already
still don't
managed
know.
to connect so many pieces of the truth. However, while you were able to decode all the information on the slates, they've also been etched with an additional layer of hidden information using a different power source.
Okay.
When we were at the ruins, I tried to decipher the hidden information recorded in the slates. But since we only had 3 slates at the time,
Good
I
thing
was
you remember
unable to
what you
come to a full
deciphered from the first
conclusion.
3.
Now that the slate collection is complete, I shall make another attempt to decipher the narrative recorded within. If everything goes well, we should finally be informed of the unadulterated
Poor
truth.
Furina is still just sitting up there. The lead actress, no longer even a part of the story. Except she very much is. Because she's on these slates.
Well,
At least we think it's her.
I believe I should share this truth not only with you, but with all the people of Fontaine as well. I will try to briefly summarize it for
It's
you.
that that bad, isn't it? Alright, let's hear it then. I'm ready.
Your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontainians and the sin of the Hydro Archon were both correct. In the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land. The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon their desire to become of a similar kind. However, even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, the Hydro Archon, as one of the seven, did not possess the authority to create a new form of human life. Not one to give in, she eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiars by appropriating the power of this planet's primordial sea. She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanids' blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics in the process. But if Fontainians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape these artificial restraints and return to the sea. As a result, their forms would collapse, and they would be reverted to their original forms as Oceanids. Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race.
I'm glad he did that in the middle of the opera.
The Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history of how the people of Fontaine first came into being.
Still a ton of unanswered questions. Because, first of all, it sounds like A, there were regular humans in Fontaine, too. Is the implication that just, like, pretty much everyone in Fontaine is now descended from the Oceanid familiars, and therefore sharing that Fontainian blood means they still belong to the primordial sea. And that's one thing. And the other thing is, the Oceanids that is being described by, you know, the Hydro Archon saw them and she wanted to give them, you know, human bodies. They don't seem to be like this one collective entity like the Oceanids we've seen once the humans are turned back into them. They are just... They seemed like they had a lot more of the independence that humans have. Interesting.
So we were all Oceanids before we turned into human beings?
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that I never heard a single thing.
I think you should leave now. Your mind is probably going to be blown even more then if you're not ready to hear
Can't let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death? After all, her only sin was creating us.
This really might be too
And
much
who is the
information for your
Oratrice? So what is the
regular
Oratrice to be handing out such a sentence?
It does answer a lot of our questions.
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the third and fourth stone slates was inaccurate. The slates' respective positions are, in fact, correct.
As I've said, but I would love to know why.
A key point of the visual on the third slate is how all the individuals depicted in the water are humans rather than Oceanids.
Okay.
They have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate is not water from the primordial sea. The nation of Fontaine is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of trials and justice. Instead of being the literal element, the water in the scene symbolizes judgment and justice.
I see.
You may also recall Navia's experience. When she fell into the sea, her consciousness was surrounded by that of many others who intended to hold a trial to determine her fate.
Yes.
Therefore, the meaning of the third slate is
the trial we're holding right now?
The people of Fontaine shall try the Hydro Archon at the court of justice.
Exclamation point. What do you mean? It can't be. It can't be. It can't be what?
Yes. It refers to our present situation.
Which means she is the Hydro Archon?
I think I'm following now. So, what you're saying is, even though we decided to put on this trial to avoid fulfilling the prophecy...
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy and we walk straight into it?
Everything we've done has happened exactly as the prophecy foretold.
No.
So now, it seems...
This is always how
we're
prophecies
the ones
go.
making sure it comes true.
The more you try to avoid it, the more true it becomes. Every story, it's like this. Anyone who accepts the prophecy, it happens. Anyone who refutes the prophecy and does everything to make sure it doesn't happen gets even more involved in the prophecy. I should have known. Well, I wouldn't have known, because in my mind, I'm not thinking of the prophecy as an actual prophecy. I'm thinking about it as an inevitability. But in fact, we're now seeing a lot more prophecy properties of this prophecy, if you know what I mean. It feels like there's just no way out of this.
Huh. No matter what, the prophecy will be fulfilled. Is this what it feels like to be a prisoner of fate?
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the fourth slate will also be fulfilled soon?
Traveler, I would like to point out another small fallacy in your deductions.
Small fallacy?
About the fourth slate. You probably thought that the eruption of primordial seawater beneath the fortress of Meropes served as the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass, yes?
What are you talking about?
However, I believe that rather than being a sure sign, that eruption could in fact only be a small warning of something far worse to come.
Thanks, that's
As
definitely what we wanted to
cause
hear.
Of the catastrophe, I believe you've already encountered it once before.
I have? Wait, could it be? The root cause of the catastrophe. You already encountered it once before. Because if you answer the root cause of the catastrophe, I totally want to say it's Ether. Because he's the catalyst for anything bad happening in every nation. Like, not a joke. But... Are you talking about Child?
This eruption was just a small warning of the things to come. We must find the root cause of the disaster.
Curse the whale. The whale. The whale!
It was both dream and reality.
Whale.
If we're talking about a true culprit, that could only be that thing inside the primordial sea, right?
The truth, the original sin, the trial, and the root cause of the disaster.
That is the 4 slates, yes. Why is it purple? Why did it just shatter? Did we break the machine? Uh-oh. Perfect dramatic time. Oh no! That is a very large one. No, Nebulat! No! Child! I'm sorry though, this is still not looking good. Oh, that team up though. It looks really hurt. I mean, you shouldn't use the foul legacy transformation anymore. Have you been fighting that thing this whole time? No!
That was way too close!
Well, now there's just a hole in the middle of the opera.
The opera house! Wait, was that the huge whale you saw in your dream?
Yeah, now we just have a... now we just have a hole to the middle of the primordial sea. Look at this other dimension. Where's Furina, by the way? We haven't seen her in a while. Uh-oh. Well, I was just saying, that was excellent dramatic timing for the whale to appear, just as we mentioned it. That's right, I'd wager it's also the one that Child saw when he was young.
So we've met it at last. I understand very well why it has chosen to make an appearance here.
Okay.
That whale does not belong to Teyvat. It is a monster that has traversed the stars, weeping all the while.
Okay.
It has been greedily consuming the energy from the planet's primordial sea, using it to grow. That is the main cause for the rising sea levels. And once it has finished consuming all of the energy contained within the sea, its next step will be...
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontainians out of Oceanids, she filled their blood vessels with primordial seawater.
So it's gonna
Precisely.
eat all the people
That
next?
whale
No!
finds the blood of Fontainians nigh impossible to resist.
Although...
Therefore, when it left the primordial sea, it decided to make its next stop a packed opera house full of food.
Why now?
Food in the form of Fontainians.
At the exact time we mention
We
it.
just barely managed to push it back, right? In that case,
Not only
we'll
that-
come back to target the people again once it's managed to
Not
recover
only
its
that,
strength.
it was Child using his fellow legacy transformation again, which he's good. That's not good for him.
That is correct. Indeed, it is more accurate to say that we should thank that Harbinger for buying us some time. Without him, the whale would have likely come onto land far sooner. From the way he looked, he must have been fighting the creature for quite a long time.
That's not good.
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale, but we definitely didn't expect it to help us out like this.
He's gonna do all that thing until he dies, and that's... I don't want that to
Whale
happen.
is the actual cause of the disaster recorded in the prophecy? All we need to do to stop the prophecy would be to find a way to beat it up, right?
It is too late.
What do you mean by that?
It had already absorbed too much of the primordial sea's energy before we could notice it. At this point, it has become practically integrated with the sea itself. Even if the entirety of Teyvat were to be destroyed, it could still survive and swim off towards some other world.
That's not something I will accept.
This is goes way beyond, way bigger than anything I thought this was gonna be.
We've come so far. You can't just tell me that the last hurdle is some impossible foe. That's just not fair.
Indeed, that's not how a grand performance should end.
I'll fight it to the end, no matter what.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
Yeah, what's on your mind?
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will be fulfilled. You may view such things as the history of the future.
After everything, it still turned out like this. We couldn't fight against fate. Wait, but if this is all about fate...
Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods, could things be happening in hidden corners where the gods' gaze does not fall?
In places where the god's gaze does not fall, there are those who dream of dreaming. I'm not sure if that's entirely relevant right now, but yeah.
Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in Teyvat's future. All you need to do is to play your part.
That's so cryptic. Does that mean we just go with what we feel to be right, or that we follow some unseen force into what has already been preordained or not preordained? Could it be that even if the prophecy will be fulfilled, there will still be a way to save everyone? Did I miss something? Wait, I forgot about Furina! What was it that she wanted to say to me at that last moment at the magic box? What is her real secret?